A few days ago, I uploaded a video talking about my 1080 Ti and this 980. I said that I got a donor 980 off eBay, and that donor 980 finally came in. Unfortunately, this is how it was packaged, but considering how this one is supposed not to work, it's understandable, especially considering this thing is like 8 years old. And I'm pretty sure the guy that originally owned this thing was like, okay, this thing died. I don't care anymore. I just want this out of my life. Just like I was with my 6600 XT. Though I would have put a little more care into packaging, but if this thing's giving him issues, like I think it may have been, I completely understand packing up like this and just sitting in my way. Because again, this is supposed to be a donor card. I would like to try and fix it if it's as simple as just reapplying thermal paste, and I got real lucky for 50 bucks. But I doubt that's the case, and it's something board level, and that is a skill I do not have, and I'm not going to spend $300 on a proper rework station just to fix a card that's basically a potato by today's standards. So with that said, I'll pop this thing, I'll open up the box and see what happens and see what I get and whatnot. Though, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that it did come in the original box and everything. I just wish the person put a little bit of extra effort and packaged the box in another box, that way so the box wouldn't be destroyed by having my shipping label and whatnot on it. So with that said, I don't think I'll really have anything. Oh, there's stuff in here. Foam padding and a static bag. Looks like he basically gave me everything, I think. Which I'm actually quite impressed. It's kind of the same way with my 3070 I got from my main rig. It also came with everything. Granted, I think probably this thing maybe had a little Molex to 6-pin or something like that. But with that said, yep, it's just another 980. Well, this little piece came broken off, but that's completely fine since it has like pieces this guy right here, so I'm not losing anything. The reason why I bought this card was just for the back plate and screws. And I can tell it has in fact been opened, so the person tried to fix this thing prior to me getting a hold of it. So with that said, I'm just going to put it in my secondary system and just see what happens. Alright, got my secondary set up in a way to where I can now test everything. I had to dig up this power supply here because I have my current computer wired up with an 8 and a 6. I need 2 6. And the power supply I'm using is a SFX, so the cables are pretty small. So I'm better off just digging this thing out. Here's the display I'm using, so let's just see what the donor card does. It had thermal paste and whatnot already installed, but some of the screws are loose, so it's a good idea that I popped it apart anyways. So let's see what this thing does. Okay, we get full fan spin. Computer's rebooting. It should have posted now. Okay, hard drive activity light is doing its thing, so clearly it is posted. But the fan for the GPU is running at full blast no matter what, and I got no image. It is properly seated on both the PCI and the HDMI. So let's reset the computer. Yeah, I think it's safe to say the card's botched. Well, with that said, I'm going to now take the back plate off, take all the screws, and get the other card up and running. I decided to hook up the HDMI to the motherboard, and I'm getting image through the APU of my computer. So, there's clearly something wrong with this card. I don't know what. So, like I said before, I'm going to pop it out, pull everything I need off this card to get the other one up and running. Alright, now I have the back plate and the screws installed on the 980 that should theoretically still be working. So let's see what this one does. Well, the fan doesn't go to full bore like the previous card, so that's good. Which means hopefully I'll get an image. Right now the computer's rebooting. I expected to do this. I expected to reboot like maybe 2 times. Alright, and I got an image. So now it's going to hopefully go to the desktop and properly reorientate the screen. Alright, GPU drivers are active now. Computer's in the process of turning itself on, so I'm going to close. It's going, oh, it is connected to Wi-Fi still. Alright. Alright, so far the card works. So obviously the GeForce logo is not in the best of shape. And I still need to grab the screws and whatnot from the other card. But right now, I just need to see if this thing overheats and whatnot. As of right now, it's running completely fine. So I'm going to load up the New Dawn demo and see what happens. Even though the drivers are detected, for some reason or another, MSI Afterburner doesn't want to properly display the card. So I'm going to install the proper drivers for the 980 and just hope that fixes the issue. Alright, now the card's showing up as it should. So now I should be able to load up the New Dawn demo and actually see what the temperatures are and whatnot. But as it stands right now, it is staying nice and cool. Alright, so far the demo is running completely fine. Though the fan is kicking up, I think it's because of the fan curve I haven't set up for this particular card. Or it might be the fan curve for this particular model that NVIDIA set up. Either way, it is running so far. So the real question now is, how hot does this card get? Because previously what the tech says is that it got really, really hot. And, well, now to see if that's still the case. Alright, so with the demo running, I might as well bring in the board from the donor card. The only thing of real note that I can see is the burn marks on the memory chips right here. So more than likely the original owner overclocked this thing, or maybe a little minor card, I don't know. But other than that, that's the only real damage I notice on this board. I don't see anything missing. And generally speaking, the rest of the board looks relatively fine. So, unfortunately for me, when it comes to my knowledge of repairing stuff like this is as far as I can go. I'll have to send this to like a proper board repair shop for them to even take a look and see what's wrong with this thing. But considering how old this card is, I don't really want to spend any more money on this thing other than just to get the card I currently got up and running again. Would I like to get this 980 working? Yes. But it'll probably cost more than just buying one used off eBay. Right now, it seems like the auto temps are at 144 degrees Fahrenheit. Which I think is in line with the fan curve I set up for my 1080 Ti. So that's actually kind of nice to see the fan curve I set up for my 1080 is still being utilized for the 980. I know it still says 1080 when it's really a 980, but I have gone through MSI Afterburner and fixed it and whatnot. So ignore the 1080 Ti moniker, it's a 980 still. What I am going to do once I get done with this testing is I'm going to be swapping quite a few components. I'm going to be taking the bottom plate right here with the thermal pads off this cooler right here and swapping over to that card, because these thermal pads are basically intact other than this one little one right here. And I'm also going to swap out the little logo right here for the GeForce logo. And I think that's about it, because again, this car was bought to be a donor, and I'm very happy to see the thermal pads on this one are not torn or anything like that. So I'm going to let this run for like 30-40 minutes, and then I'm going to swap out and then finish off this video. Okay, the screen went blank. I think it may have just gone to sleep, so let's just see if that's the case. Oh, something happened. I'm just going to power off the system and restart it again. Please power down and connect the PCI cable. Came loose? How'd that happen? I just had a, was it a 4080 or 4090 moment? The power cable actually came loose. But then again, whatever. So I'm just going to give that a mull again. That's more than likely why the card, or why the computer, or the display turned off. So I should get an image again, and this time I should actually post. There we go. Alright, so yeah, the PCI power cable came loose. Don't know how that happened, because I'm pretty sure I clicked it in properly, but whatever. So since it still works, I'm going to go through the process of swapping out components and whatnot, and then put the whole thing back together and rerun the test again, and this time see how long I can see if it actually does it again. I don't think it will, because like I said before, the power cable just came loose. So I'll be back in like 30-40 minutes. I thought I'll also bring in the original card so we can have a comparison. So this is the donor card, and just like before, it has all those burn marks around the memory chips, while this one right here doesn't have those burn marks. It's a lot more cleaner looking. So again, I'm thinking maybe the previous, or the donor card, was a miner, or someone just overclocked the snot out of it and it finally crapped. Either way, like I said before, it was going to be bought as a donor and it's going to be used as a donor. So I'm going to get this card put back together properly, and yeah. Oh yeah, there's another thing I want to mention, the heat sinks. This is the heat sink on a donor card, and just look at all this, whatever this is. Clearly this card has been used pretty atrociously compared to the card I got from my tech. The heatsink on this one looks relatively clean in comparison to this one right here, which kind of makes me go to believe that this thing was, again, either heavily overclocked or was being used as a mining card. So yeah, I'm certain this heatsink is still completely fine. It's just aesthetic, but I'm going to use the heatsink that is basically still practically brand new. Instead of just completely replacing the bottom plate right here with the donor card, I just took a few of the thermal pads from the donor card for the memory chips that need them, and that's what I'm going to do. I am still going to replace the LED thing on the side right here, but I'm going to do that after I get everything all buttoned up over here and whatnot. Alright, now the card's all back together, all the screws in place, and it looks nice and clean. Granted, I gotta clean the back plate a little bit, but I'll do that after I make sure this card actually still works. But at least now I have a fully assembled 980. So I'm going to put it back in my computer and hope it works. Alright, it's now back in the computer again. Let's see what it does. As you can see, I replaced the backlight or the GeForce logo with the donor card logo. I got a little bit of noise coming from that. And I still get an image like I should. So it should post to the desktop. And it does. So I think what I'll do now is I'll just let it sit like this for a while and just see if it goes blank again. It shouldn't, but I just want to let it sit for a bit. Alright, so it hasn't been that long and it's still running. So I'm going to rerun the demo again, and hopefully this time it doesn't crap out like it did before. Again, I'm thinking the reason why it crapped out is because one of the supplemental power cables came loose. How that happened, I don't know, but I made sure that they're properly seated. So, just like before, I'm just going to let it sit. Alright, I've had the tech demo up and running now for quite a while. You can also tell the temperatures have actually increased, and that's because I have everything fully screwed down, so all the memory, VRM, and whatnot are also contributing to the heat output of the card, though it is very noisy. Again, I don't know if this is the BIOS or the fan fan curve that the card originally shipped with, or if it's the fan curve I set up in MSI Afterburner. But either way, at least it's keeping itself cool and it's still running. Alright, just got done playing a little bit of Sea of Thieves. A little hard to do on this low EV 720p panel, but the 980 does the job just fine, which is expected considering I'm only playing at 720p. I'm pretty sure once I go to 1080, this card really starts hitting life. But generally speaking, I now have a working 980. So with that said, I'm now going to pull this 980 out of the card, or out of the computer, and put everything back, and get my 1080 back in this system here and get it all set back up again. Because I'm not going to use this 980 in my secondary rig when my 1080 Ti still works. Alright, got my computer all set back up again with my 1080 Ti. I'm rerunning the old demo again just to make sure 1080 Ti still works. I don't see why I wouldn't, but also I want something nice to look at. So when it comes to the 980, as of right now, it doesn't have a computer to call its own yet. I think I'll eventually find something, but that'll be for down the road. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. I managed to repair my free 980 with $50 worth of a busted 980. But it's better than getting one of these used off eBay for like, what, 150 bucks? So I'd say when it comes to getting this thing back up and running.